I know Nikunj was quizzing Amitabh Chaudhry about where his stock is going to go. So here we are celebrating people whose stocks have given 200 times return in the last 20 decades. Wow, I want to pinch myself. Abhijit, let me start off with you. Like I said, 200 times in 20 years is no joke. For a company which is not the number one in market size in your industry, which is Berger Paints, yet you've managed to reward the shareholders the most within the sector. How did you manage that?
Well, part of it is essentially, when we started off, as you said, we were 20 years back about 200 crores in terms of market cap. Today we are about 48,000, 49,000 crore. So it's been a long journey, Part of it is innovation, which we brought about, lots of new products, services. We strengthened our R&D to a large extent. Branding and distribution plays an important role in paint selling or any consumer selling for that matter. So we, worked on that. The profitability improved. The sales has been consistently growing. So we can't complain as such. Of course, a large part of it is also luck. You are in an industry which is doing well.
Don't undermine your hard work.
No, but I would still say that you need to be in an industry which is growing, right? You can have all the talent and you can put in all the hard work, but the industry is not doing well. You can't do much about it. But the paint industry as such, has been growing, and within that, we have done much better than many of the other competitors. We were there, we were actually in the 6th position in 20 years back maybe. Currently at number 2, we are the 14th largest in the world now, in 5th largest in Asia. So it's been a long journey, and as I said, basics have been done correctly. And we have been working on that aspect, as much as possible.
Okay, I'm going to come to those aspects in just a bit. But while you managed to compete within your sector, Vinati, for you, it was also about competing with global peers. It's also the US-China dynamics, China putting all these stringent laws when it comes to your sector. What was the success mantra for you?
So, ours is a little similar to Berger and also a little unsimilar. Similar in the sense of, again, being a chemical company, innovation is very important. Product selection and adding new products constantly is very important. Now, where it is different is we are not a B2C company. We are a B2B company. And yes, global factors do come in play. Like we do compete with China, for example, in the US. Now, because of the tariffs in China, our product has become more competitive in the US, but at the same time, the Chinese are dumping the products in Europe. So overall, globally, it makes no difference, these tariffs. So it comes down to your selection, your innovation, and yes, there is always, like Abhijit pointed, a bit of luck, so a bit of chance. We make very niche chemicals used in specific applications, used in pharma, agro. In most of our products, we are global leaders. We have 65 to 70% market share. 2 years back, suddenly one of our largest competitor decided to exit the business, exit the product altogether. And our sales shot up, our prices increased. So that was a chance part. And also there's a question of choices. For example, when I joined the company, it was a 20 crore market cap company. The product, there was one product specifically which we were thinking of exiting because it was a loss-making unit for us. We chose to stick it out, to wait it out. And today that product accounts for 50% of our revenues. And today we are a 10,000 crore company. So it's a question, it's just choices and chance. That's how I put it.
Umesh, talking about being at the right time at the right place. It couldn't have been better for you the last decade or the last 20 for that matter, because you rose with the consumption boom, you rose with India, you rose with India's economy. Having said that, we're in a bit of a tough and sticky spot right now, especially when it comes to the sector that you lend to, which is autos. Is the going now getting tough?
In fact, when I was called and told that your company's stock has grown 200 times, I pinched myself because NBFC is not a right word right now. Frankly speaking, we, right from the beginning, we remained in a niche segment. We wanted to help the people who are buying the vehicle for the first time and make a livelihood out of it. And we continue to stay in this line, expanding our reach. So from semi-urban, rural, we try to reach most of the part of the country, try to remain in the niche because it's easy to go up value chain. When you go up value chain, then you get into competition from the bank or maybe other captive finance company. But if you remain in the niche segment and in that customer segment which you are familiar with, maybe it's difficult to acquire a customer, difficult to maintain the customer. You have to virtually live with the customer to make it success. So we have done that. And as you rightly said, when economic activity progressed, when the GDP growth rate started reaching 8-9%, then India's ability or people's ability to buy more vehicle, use it, that increased. Today, right now, it looks as if India is going through little slow down, but I think these are all cyclical. I don't think it is structural because this has happened in the past. It is not that we keep growing at 8% all the time. Probably we are not like the China where you grow at 10% for 20 years, then you slow down a little. But India being, we are all entrepreneurial people. Many of the people, if you look at, they have that urge to grow, aspiration to grow. But there are slow, we believe in growing in steps. So I think the company has grown gradually and with a deep belief in the customer whom we are associated with, and we continue to grow. I think our reach is still 30%. And a long way to go and reach other customers.
Indeed, miles to go. And Abhijit, you know, that somewhere comes to your industry as well, because each time that we have or we get your quarterly report card, we're like, if housing is actually slowing down, and that's where larger part of the selling of paints comes in from, who are these guys selling to? I know the commercial segment as well is something, you know, which is extremely profitable for you, and a large market share comes from that. But do you also believe with this housing slowdown, somewhere there is a question mark on how long and for how much can your business continue to grow?
So, you know, this new housing business contributes about 12 to 15% of our total business. Much of the business is repainting business, which is in the tier 2, tier 3 towns, you know, primarily, you know, individuals who are owning houses who go for painting. That hasn't slowed down. In fact, you know, even in the demonetization period when the world at large was collapsing, and, you know, we managed to grow, you know, and grow at 6-7% even in that month when the demonetization happened, right? So, you know, people who are painting or about to paint, you know, they don't mind spending that, you know, money because the house looks shabby. They want to paint and they want it to look nice. The weddings in the house, you know, there are some events, you know, which are likely to happen. So they again tend to paint, you know. So therefore, those things continue, irrespective of, you know, what's the cyclical nature of the real estate industry as such. When the real estate industry does kick in, the growth rates for the paint companies goes up further because that 15% which is dependent on this tends to increase. So there's a marginal increase there. But overall, we are insulated from this, you know, vagaries of the real estate, you know, which keeps on going up and down. We are much more, you know, focused on the repainting side, which is more like the FMCG category, more stable. In fact, slightly better because, you know, all the new houses which gets constructed in the tier 2, tier 3 towns, they continue to paint once, and every 4-5 years they again repaint. So, in fact, the urbanization level is only at 30% today in India. 31, 32, whichever way you look at it. And abroad, you know, it is about 60-65% at the least, you know. So there's a long way to go in terms of houses coming up, you know, getting on for painting for the first time, repainting every 4-5 years. So the opportunity is enormous as such.
You're painting a very good scenario for your industry. But what are the challenges? I'm sure there are challenges as well, which the paint segment, which you say is insulated with from a lot of other vagaries of the changing demand-supply scenario. But I bet there are obstacles as well that the industry does face, or Berger does face, or has faced in the years gone by, and will in the near future as well.
So we are linked to the economy at large. You know, it's not as if we are insulated from it. So the GDP, you know, once there is a slowdown, this great talk which is going on, the consumer sentiment gets affected. it does impact us negatively, right? Some of the consumers do postpone. We are in the discretionary category. You can always postpone, painting. You go for more essential stuff. But, we have seen that over the years, relatively insulated we are there because, new customers come in. So, those who are postponing possibly are, more than neutralized by the new ones who come into the picture. So far, if you look at our trend line, we haven't grown very fast, unlike certain industries which can grow at 80% and then also slip down to minus growth. It's a very steady growth, it varies between 10-11% to about 17-18%. And the CAGR growth for the last 10 years has been about 14% for us in terms of top line, and bottom line has been growing at about 18-19%. So it's consistently growing over the years. So that's how it has been. No great barriers as such so far.
So another 200 times in the next 20 years as
that's
well.
difficult to say. That's something, it has happened over the years because the re-rating has happened. I don't think it's going to get re-rated again. So it will be progressively based on what we do in terms of operating profit growth, etc. It will more or less, be in that basis. So it won't be that high, but it will be a consistent growth.
Great to hear that. We have that on record. Vinati, if I could talk about your business in greater detail, where would you say that the challenges are going to come up from? And is it going to be the global dynamics, again, China putting some sanctions? Or do you see within the industry, within the business itself, there could be issues which could actually sort of stump your growth in the near future?
So, there are internal and external challenges. Now, for our company, I'll start with the internal challenges because we are focused on innovative products. I think selecting chemicals, selecting which product to get into next, that's the challenge. We spend a lot of time and effort in R&D. And now everyone knows with R&D, you have 15 projects in the pipeline, 10 or 12 will die down, and only 1 or 2 will see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's an internal challenge, how to keep coming up with such niche chemicals where you have some sort of global leadership. Now coming to the external challenges, see again, regulations are becoming harder in the industry, getting permissions, environmental clearances and all. But I think it's definitely for the better, because in the long run, you have to be sustainable. You cannot keep polluting. So I think, and personally for our company, we are a company that is always focused on green chemistry, zero effluent. So this is not a challenge, though in the industry I hear people think of this as a challenge. Now, tariffs from China in the US, again, that's like I mentioned before, globally it's a zero-sum game. Doesn't really matter because somewhere else China will become more competitive. Competition, feedstock availability has always been a challenge for our industry in India. I think the government, if somebody's here, maybe they can invest a little more in ports and inland infrastructure, because that would definitely help our industry going forward.
I was going through a research note in your company which said that you will continue to be stronger and wider because you've got a moat in the ATBS segment. You will maintain global leadership in IBB, but it's going to be a much slower growth rate. Would you deny that, or would you say, no, we're here and we're here for good and we will beat the previous growth levels?
The previous growth levels have been abnormal. Let me put it this way, growing from 20 to 10,000 in 12 years, not sure if one can really replicate that, because back then your base was also small. What we aspire as such is to grow at a steady 20% every year. And for that, we have a plan in mind, whether it is our existing products that are growing, existing expansions, or adding new products. So let's see what happens in the next 10 years.
Okay. Mr. Revankar, much like Vinati's business, she highlighted that there are internal challenges, which you also alluded to earlier, but there are also those external dynamics, which again, we've been talking about the auto slowdown, we've been talking about stringent laws for NBFCs per se. Where do you see the biggest challenge at a time when NPA protection seems to be the going mantra for all NBFCs, and why not?
Basically, if you look at the way NBFCs have played themselves in the Indian industry, we are an intermediary, basically, where banks have no reach or less reach or where the what call the formal financial inclusion is not happening, we are getting into that particular space. And as we go deeper, we feel that the scope is much bigger than what we initially envisaged. There are enough opportunity to grow. The one is how you are able to retain your customer in the long run. The customers are likely to graduate themselves into banking system over the period. Now in that particular time, how relevant we are with the customer, to the customer, that's very important. One is creating a reach and bringing them on the formal, because many of the customers, even today, they deal with informal credit, informal money lenders. I still believe around 40-50% of our customers still are with informal credit lines in some way or other. Or maybe they, because credit is not available, they're just not growing or not acquiring vehicle or assets. So we are trying to create that kind of a reach with the customer. And it's not that we are just, even though we are focused on relationship based, where our people go and meet the customer, we have also improved our digital play and trying to give service to the customer, much superior services through the digital play. So I think ultimately the challenge for us as NBFC, as an intermediary financial service provider, is how relevant we are to the customer and to the community. Not just individual customers, even to the community, because the community plays a very important role. Generally the trucking community tend to be more familiar with financiers or finance companies who deal with them on a regular basis, rather than with a bank who do not have a face many times. It is just faceless organization. So I think as long as that connect we are able to maintain, I think we should be able to create that kind of reach and growth.
Abhijit, in that sense, there's a similarity, right? It's about all customer-client relationship. How is it that you, being a paints company, hold on to your clients, besides, of course, getting Bollywood A-listers to be your brand endorsing your brand?
Yeah, in our case, there is an end customer, and then there is the dealer who is a customer, the immediate customer. So you have to take both of them into account. As far as the end customer is concerned, other than the advertisements which we do, you need to really innovate, and find out things which they want. I'll just give you two quick examples. So there is this product which we introduced called Easy Clean. Now, all market research indicated that, in India there are lots of kids at house, and they tend to use these crayons and they will scribble on the walls. And it's a pain, for the family as well. What do we do with that? If you wash it and you try to rub it, there will be this white spot which will, patch which will appear. So it used to be a painful thing for, consumers. So we came out, we went back to our R&D, we said, this is a problem, how do we resolve this? So they came out with a product, whereby, with this crayons also, you can easily wipe it off and the paint color remains. That was the uniqueness of that product. We named that product also very easy to understand, called Easy Clean. And we advertised it with the kids, it just took off. It is still there in the first, brand that is recalled from Berger stable, that will be Easy Clean, Then, I was in Bangladesh, and, in the board of Bangladesh, I am there. And they were, our Berger Bangladesh had created a product called Anti-Dust. They called it Anti-Dirt because, there's a lot of dust, in Bangladesh, in the Dhaka, and so they wanted to create that product. I thought, this is very relevant for India because, it's a very dusty area, especially the north, the west, where there's, less rainfall.
Even
and
Mumbai now,
yeah. So dust is an issue, and then it creates all those patches on the wall and it looks shabby, the color becomes dull because it is covered with dust. So can we come out with an anti-dust paint, and that's what, introduced, Weathercoat Anti-Dust, which in the first 2 years itself crossed 200 crores, and it's growing, and continues to grow. Then we came with another, service this time called Express Painting. Now this is, every time even people from, Times Now Network, when they will visit me, they'll say, what paint do you use? I'll ask him generally, because mostly they will be using Asian Paints in Bombay. So they will say, no, but, we have one problem. The problem is that, whenever we go for this painting, there's dust flying around and, my family has to, compromise with that, and then takes endless time. So we came out with a solution called express painting, where automatic machines are used, and it can reduce the time by less than half. And it is also absorbing all the dust because there's a vacuum suction attached to it. So when instead of rubbing with a sandpaper, you use a machine which does the same rubbing, and then there is a vacuum suction which sucks out the dust. So, in the process, you do it at much faster, you do it cleaner and do it better. And on top of it, the cost, because you are saving on the labor cost, you pass on that benefit to the customer. So the cost-wise also it is competitive. So that's what we introduced, as an express painting service. We get the largest response from most of these big cities. So those are all innovations which we have, brought about, which we think, if consumers love that, obviously, it helps you to grow faster. It helps you to also make better margins on those products.
Abhijit, can you make a mosquito repellent paint?
We are working incidentally.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I get royalty for it then? For giving you that idea?
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
so, but that needs a lot of permissions, from the government of India, so that is the main deterrent rather than actually having the product per se. Because, it needs to be very safe because, kids can put it in the mouth and it can be a problem. So, a lot of tests goes around. How long does it stay? All those things are there. So, there are products like that, which can help.
Vinati, in your business, there is no advertising. How do you grow?
No, so we grow by adding new products, and operational efficiency is of course very important. You have to keep investing in your existing processes, and to keep up to date and to keep your costs low. And one thing our company particularly has been very good at doing is creating wealth from waste or value generating products out of the waste streams. So that has two advantages. One, it reduces your effluents, so you are not worried about environment clearances, etc. And secondly, it actually reduces your cost because you are getting value from the waste stream, which none of our competitors are doing. And that has been one of the reasons why we have leadership in most of our products. So, again, and also when we are adding new products, another thing we look at is integration. For example, you mentioned ATBS. Now, why are we the largest in ATBS? We are the only ATBS manufacturer in the world that is backward integrated. We make its raw material IB, which was not available in India. We were importing it from Taiwan and Europe. Now, from IB, again, now being the largest manufacturer of IB in India, we started thinking, what else can we do next with IB? So now we are making butyl phenols, which again, no one else is making in India.
Which is? For the layman, what is that?
Okay, now there are 4 types of butyl phenols. They go into fragrance industry or plastics, resins, and these 4 chemicals are also imported into India as of now from Singapore, Korea. Because we have IB, the feedstock, we will be the only manufacturer of butyl phenols in India. So this also creates a moat for our ATBS product. So integration, innovation, waste to wealth, clean and green technologies, those have been some of our key mantras.
Umesh, how do you create a moat around your business? Because like you said, there is that big threat from banks, which you don't see arising right now because, again, they're faceless. But what stops the bigger banks from entering into that space and cannibalizing into your business?
See, I really don't imagine a situation where somebody can come and cannibalize, but we always think about it, how to make the customer think of Shriram again, because once you give a loan for 3 years or 4 years, he can always pay from his home and need not remember me at all. So what we have done is, we have now started giving him insurance product, we are giving him tax credit, fuel credit, tire loans. These are all the product which he needs regularly because he need to consume this to run his business. He needs fuel all the time. He needs tire to be changed every 6 months. I give credit to them and make it installment so that I make him come back to Shriram again and again for various product. It is not just one product it ends with. It is a multiple product. So at the end of it, he will always be remembering Shriram every 2 months or 3 months because he keeps needing more product, or I should say a sub-product. So that's how the customers are attached to the company, and we also have that kind of relationship where we go and meet the customer quite often, even if not for collection, at least to maintain the relationship, we believe in doing that. And apart from that, we also are a deposit-taking NBFC. We also have a huge deposit base. So even these customers, deposit customers, we don't advertise. We keep a reach to them through intermediaries. We have the agents who keep in touch with the customer, who give service to them. More than 90% of the business what we get is through the intermediaries as far as the deposit is concerned. So there is a constant communication with the customer in some way or other, so that they keep remembering the company, or they take assistance from the company to maintain their business or their investments. So that's how I think creating a constant recollection, that is very important. Advertisement, yes, it helps to create a brand, but we have done more through...
You can take ideas from Abhijit. He's got all the Bollywood A-listers endorsing for him.
We could have taken, we did try some time back, but we felt that it is better to create a reach, because we wanted a reach and a connection to be always with the customer rather than through a TV or newspaper. Maybe I'll take some idea from him and see whether it helps me to build a better brand.
Abhijit, who's next? The brand ambassador.
Well, that's we are working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a change happening
Yes,
there, right?
there is. Yeah.
Okay. Abhijit, just very quickly then, before we wrap up this panel, where is the next market cap addition going to come in from? Is it going to be innovation at Berger Paints, or is it going to be deeper penetration, maybe via organic or inorganic growth?
So combination of both, actually. One is deeper penetration, of course, because there is still a lot of opportunity, as I mentioned, in the industry, and we have now number 2, but we can scale up much faster. The second is, the waterproofing segment, where we have entered recently. I think, we acquired one company called STP, which is the Shalimar Tar Products, just 1st of November. And I think, that's a segment which we are looking at very seriously. I think that gives us, further opportunity, because, any wall, initially it needs waterproofing and then followed by painting. So it is adjacent to our line of business. We understand it reasonably well. The distribution is similar. The products are very similar to ours. So that's an area where we are getting in a bigger way.
Vinati, 88.25% stock price return in the last 2 years. What are we looking at in the next 2?
No, so for our company also, the growth is coming from new products like butyl phenols. Our existing products like ATBS, IVB are also growing steadily. So, I would just say 20% growth year on year for the next 3 to 5 years.
So replicating the 88% is a probability.
Well, you are saying 88% in a quarter.
No, in 2 years.
In 2 years, maybe a little less than that, 40-50%, yeah.
Okay, great. That's a solid guidance then. Mr. Revankar?
I would like to grow steady.
I'll give you a reference point, 21.7% in the last 2 years.
I think growth rate may not be at 21%, but I'm happy if I'm able to grow at 15%, because I'm talking about AUM growth. But a PAT growth can be much bigger. It depends upon the market condition. But we are confident of maintaining our margins. Our net interest margins have always been maintained, and I hope to increase that.
Abhijit, 97%? I'm still pinching myself in the last 2 years.
Well, this is dependent on, as I said, the re-rating and the expectations is quite high. The industry is, well poised. Of course, whether we will be able to sustain that type of record is difficult to say. I don't think, that's something which can be predicted as well. But we will continue to do our best, in terms of growing our, sales and profit.
You can do
which is
better
what?
than that. Give us some guidance at least.
No guidance.
Not
at all.
stock price return, but growth guidance.
Growth guidance can be, reasonably decent. I would say that, we will double digit, is what we would look forward to for sure in terms of top line, and bottom line will be slightly higher than that.
Okay, great. All the best to all three of you, and I sincerely hope that your stock price doesn't even double, but trebles in the next 2 years when hopefully we chat on the same particular panel. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much for joining in, and Ayesha really trying to echo those answers in terms of guidance. It's been lovely having you, ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause.